Yo, what is up? What is going on? We are back for volume 15 of Drunk on Ice, and I'm here. I got Jay, I got Joe. We're here. We're gonna talk a little Flyers, talk a little Stanley Cup, gentlemen. What's going on?
What's going on? That's
What's
an
up?
understatement. It feels like it's been like a year since we've convened.
It's been a minute.
It's only been 2 weeks. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it has been 2 weeks. Yeah, but
It just seems like these shows, like, since there's no Flyer season and since we've kind of been switching it up, doing like, a little bit of, all sports / some hockey, it just, I don't know. It seems like it's forever. But we actually got some stuff to talk about today.
Huh? Hey, listen, do we ever?
Other
Joe,
than-
what's going on?
Well, this is a tough sport to be covering right now. Other than the late breaking coaching news, which apparently is going to come down tomorrow, but I mean it's pretty much already set in stone. With the Mr. Tortorella.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, first impressions of Tortorella. That wasn't super convincing, Joe.
No. Well, I think from his past, his win-loss record and his success and failures, he reminds me a lot of Doc Rivers.
I was hoping you weren't going to say that.
Yeah, but it's just so true. I went back and looked at his overall record and what he did with the Rangers and what he did with Tampa and Columbus, and I don't want to sound cliche, but he he won a cup with Tampa, but that was like eons ago. That team that ripped the Flyers' hearts out in the Eastern Conference Finals went on to win that series, and Tortorella was the coach. So that was 18 years ago.
Yeah, wow.
18 years ago he won. 18
Wow.
years ago. Wow. He gets his teams to the playoffs more times than not. But he doesn't, I don't know. He's an accountability coach. I can appreciate that, and I absolutely think that this team needs that. But
yeah,
what are the Flyers? Who is your core? How are they going to respond to somebody like that? And here's another kicker. I mean, from the stories I've seen, this move was done way up at the top without any, consulting with Chuck Fletcher.
Yeah, and what does that tell you?
More dysfunction.
More dysfunction, more disconnection.
Yep.
Jay, what are your thoughts on Tortorella?
I mean, Joe's actually stole my thunder, but I mean, when I think of Tortorella, if I want to use one word, it's accountability.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that this team desperately needs, it's a coach like John Tortorella. But I guess my problem is, and I don't know if it's a problem or more so my opinion of where we're at. I really don't think it matters who the coach is unless they fix this roster. Because
truly,
the bottom line is Tortorella could come in here. He can preach accountability. He can, as Scott Hartnell called him, be honest. He can call people out. He can do all of these things.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if the players don't buy in, it's going to all be, white noise. Honestly, like.
Yeah.
I
mean, listen, if there's anything that you can say about this young, like you've got a lot of young nucleus guys that accountability piece being in place with that young group could be the thing that propels that group to be better. I mean, Jay, but to speak to your point, I think, who the coach is really at this point is insignificant unless they drastically overhaul whatever this roster is right now into something that it could be. Because after we're done talking about the coach, we'll talk about the Stanley Cup a little bit. And listen, it took me one game to see how far away this team is from being remotely competitive with anybody that's played in these last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I think Joe had the perfect comp, and it's kind of scary because Doc Rivers is exactly who I was thinking of. Like, if you want to compare him, because Doc Rivers gets a lot of praise as far as his resume, but he won one championship. And
Right.
Same goes for Tortorella. Like, yes, he has a good resume. He's the first American coach to have 500 wins. I mean, these are all great accomplishments. But at the end of the day, if you look at the overall body of work, I mean, yeah, he has a good record. But in the NHL, is that really saying anything to me? Because the bottom line is you want to win a championship. So I look at this roster and I say, is this team even close to being close to winning a championship? And the answer is no. Right. Emphatically no. But that being said, you can't not try to get a coach in here that's going to actually maybe somewhat make a difference. And if there is somebody that can, I mean, I know a lot of people wanted Trotz, and you know what? Trotz is a better coach probably than Tortorella as far as getting the most out of his players.
Truly.
Yeah. But, I respect a guy like Scott Hartnell. He's a guy that, played here. Obviously, he had 2 tenures with the Flyers. And Scott Hartnell was asked about both of these guys, and he praised both of them. But if you read the interview, he kind of – the way that he made it sound was that, in his opinion, Tortorella would be better for this roster. Because he thinks that the thing that the Flyers are missing the most is that accountability piece. And Tortorella is definitely more about accountability, more so than Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz is more of like a system guy. Not that he won't hold people accountable, but he's more of like a systems type coach. Like,
right. He's a guy who runs a specific system. He comes into the organization, gets guys in the organization to run the system that he wants to run along with the accountability piece, right? But like Jess, I think what you're saying, is 100% accurate. It's something that you were speaking to on I think that was Friday night when they had their last Flyers Alley show, but like that I think what you're talking about, the worst case scenario, right, is that they get rid of a bunch of shit that they don't need. And that makes it easier for the next coach to then move them to the next stage of whatever that is. Because they're always like, we had like, right, like to make that basketball Sixers analogy, right? You had Brett Brown that came in and coached that team through all that process. But they needed someone different to get further. Now, we can put further in air quotes with that team, right? Because they drastically underperformed on a bunch of different levels, but that's a whole nother show. But this team, that accountability piece is going to be something that, let's be honest, they haven't really had in a really long time. Probably not since Laviolette.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he'll back up he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. Like, I remember when he was with Columbus and Cam Atkinson was I believe he was like maybe second year, he just come up in the league, and he sat Cam Atkinson. Like, he'll sit star players. He's not afraid. If they don't listen to what he's saying, their playing time will suffer. And that's a fact. That I've seen it. So, if these guys think that they're going to just come in and be like, ignore what he's saying, that's absolutely not going to happen, because he will not stand for it. He's definitely a great interview too.
Yeah,
it'll be fun to watch.
I mean, at least there'll be some fire, right? There'll be some, and to speak to Mike's point, right? That Trotz and Tortorella had very similar resumes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're guys that both have had success at this level. So I think either way, the product that you're going to get on the ice was never going to be drastically different based on the coach that you picked.
Well, I mean, look at both of their championships. I mean, Barry Trotz won with Alex Ovechkin. You know what I'm saying?
True, right.
He had a roster, and at the time, Braden Holtby was playing out of his mind in net. Tortorella, he won with Tampa Bay in 2004, and that was like, that was when Vinny Lecavalier was in his prime, and you had guys like, I believe Fedotenko was on that team.
St. Louis.
You had a ton of talent on that Tampa Bay team. And remember, the Flyers took them to task. We went to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Final. So
that's right. Wow.
Yeah.
That was
the Boulin Wall.
That was actually a great series. That was the series that Primo played out of his mind and almost carried us, to that win. But that was that year. And John Tortorella, like I said, they're both great coaches, but like I said, at this point, I think Jesse's right. I think at least if he comes in here and starts kind of reshaping the roster a little bit. Now, I know it's not his decision per se, but
right.
What he does with these players could have a direct impact on how the organization chooses to handle what decisions they make as far as trading guys away or cutting guys or who they draft. A lot of it's obviously going to depend on how good is this draft. I mean, like, I haven't really I know some years they say, oh, there's all these we use the term generational talent, and I think sometimes that term is used very loosely anymore in this generation. As everyone's a generational talent. Like, there can only be one or a handful of generational talents at one time. I mean, Alex Ovechkin was obviously a generational talent. Like, Sidney Crosby's an generational talent. Connor McDavid, but there's
right.
there's a
Austin
handful.
Matthews, right? That list of like elite upper echelon guys, right? Do I think that they're going to get that with the pick that they have this year? I mean, the likelihood is probably not. But even the guy that they picked this year is going to be not on this roster for the next at least probably 2 or 3 seasons. So I don't know. To me, the draft is always such a crapshoot in turn across the board. But I think, to speak to Mike's point here, right, like, just getting guys to like go out there and act like they give a shit, right? Like, just getting that, changing the mentality of the play on the ice, I think could at least at the very least endear this team back to the city, because you're getting the team to play that doesn't look like completely lackadaisical, like you're just out there, like it's like an open skate. So
yeah, it's there's still just so many question marks with the direction of the team, the foundation of the team, who's really in charge, who's pulling the strings, who's scouting, who's who's gonna turn it around? Who's gonna take it, take the bull by the horns and say, we need to turn this organization around. The upper management and ownership, they seem, and they've been, since the Snyder family has been not a part of this organization, where it's more of, they're just trying to sell tickets. They're trying to sell memorabilia. I saw something, I don't remember if it was earlier this week or last week, about Flyers wallpaper. And I responded with, why don't you get a coach? Why don't you, get some talent and try to turn this team around? Nobody gives a crap about Flyers wallpaper right now. We want a better product on the ice. We need a team and a system that we're excited to go see, players that we want to go see. And we don't have that. We haven't had that. G's gone. You have some nice players, but you have bad contracts. The contract doesn't match the player. You sign a guy like Ristolainen for 5 years and $25 million. He's a nice defenseman, but he's not worth that kind of money. It's hard. You have Kevin Hayes making over $7. You have Atkinson making almost $6+, and he's in his 30s. And these guys are, some of these guys are breaking down. They're not even on the ice. And then you got a guy like TK. I was a huge TK fan, but he's the model of inconsistency. He takes games off. He takes plays off. He talks a lot of shit, and he doesn't back it up. And I'm tired. Yeah. Where's the heart? Where's the energy? Where's the emotion? Like, do you even want to win? Do you even care? This team has no heart other than the goalie. And maybe Farabee, but he has no compliment. There's no. Oh, our first line, man. Our first line is great. Yeah. It's a bunch of pieces just scattered like in outer space. It's hard to watch because I watch every sports game in Philly, no matter what team it is. And this was the first year where I would maybe check the score, but I would barely even watch games because I knew what was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. It was inevitable. And then, you watch the Avalanche and Tampa Bay, and it's like, wow. Yeah. Light years apart. It's at skill, at mentality, at, having the heart of a champion and, doing absolutely everything, blood, sweat, and tears to win games.
Joe, just the pace of the game. Right, even throughout the playoffs, right? Even to watch the series before where Colorado and Edmonton are matched up, and to see the skill level, right? When you've got Draisaitl and you've got McDavid and you've got Cal McCarr and you've got you've got that elite level of talent all over the place, and the speed of the game is just light years from. I felt like watching that and then watching a Flyers game was like NHL, AHL. It's the game on a completely different level.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just, Mike, that you're getting rid of JVR's contract. That's got to be, one of those priorities. And I think it's going to be interesting in the next couple months to see how Tortorella plays with Chuck Fletcher and to see what that relationship is like in terms of how much influence is he going to have on either getting rid of or bringing in guys, and what that communication is like with the GM in terms of being able to get stuff done.
Yeah. And who do we want to have the power? Do we trust Chuck Fletcher? Do we trust Tortorella at this stage in his coaching career to really know and get in there and find the pulse of this team and actually make a positive impact on now and in the next couple of years. I think it's what I saw. It was 4 years, 16 million. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of things that need to change. Absolutely, the mentality has to be the first thing. He's got to lock these guys in a room and say, look, I may have not won a cup in a while, but I've turned my teams around. I've consistently taken my teams to the playoffs. I really need you guys to have my back.
Right.
And I think, he's like Jay said, he's the kind of guy that'll bench guys. And if guys can't buy in, I think players will be on the move because the coach is here. The only thing that's going to move it will be certain players. If they can't, it's a mentality. It's a mentality, and the players don't have it.
Yeah, I think one thing that this signals to me when you bring in a coach like Tortorella, I think Joe's on to something. I don't think they would bring in a guy like Tortorella and then say, "Well, you have no power," because John Tortorella is he has that, as we said, resume. So they're not going to just bring him in here and then basically, give him no power. And when I say no power, I think Joe's right. I think he's going to come in. He's going to see what he has. He's going to get to know these guys. He's going to kind of like take a step back and kind of like not come in like a ball of fire. He's going to come in. He's going to see what he has. He's going to institute his system. And if these guys don't buy in, then they'll be out. Because I don't think he'll sit there and stand for that lack of accountability. I think he'll tell Fletcher, yo, this guy's not working out. We need to get somebody else. I don't think any of the guys previously, did that. I think Alain Vigneault, to me, was a guy that, although he was tough on players, I don't think he had a backbone to go up against the organization. Like, whereas Tortorella, he won't
care. Yeah.
He won't come in here and just be some, what do they call it? Lapdog. Like, he's basically he'll speak his mind to the point where he's not going to put up with bullshit. And I don't think he's a guy that will stand there and just say, "Oh yeah, I'll do whatever you want, Chuck." Like, he's going to come in here and run the team the way he wants to run it. And if you want my honest opinion, all these reports that are going around, I mean, we saw Jesse had a report about, the Flyers apparently, asked the assistant GM if he wanted to be the GM. If that report's true, I mean, what does that tell you? And then you had, obviously, the Terrian story about the fact that Dave Scott had basically a hiring firm to bring in Tortorella. What does that say about their confidence in the GM that's in place? They obviously don't have any confidence in the guy. So I think he's probably like a lame duck GM. Like, if this doesn't work out this year, he's definitely out. I mean, Danny Briere, I know a lot of people. That's a rumor. I don't think it's set in stone that he's actually the guy that's going to be the GM. But I don't think the Flyers are actually set on a GM because, and rightfully so, what has Chuck Fletcher really done? If you want my honest opinion, I mean, I know we all looked at the moves last year on paper and said, wow, he made a lot of good moves, but every single move that he made backfired.
But Jay, let's be honest, right? If we go back to episode 1, right? You had an opportunity to take care of this in player development in the last couple of years, right? Like, I feel like I'm having the same conversation with you all that I had with Rich last night when we were talking about the Phillies and their farm system and why they're in the position that they were in. They were there in that position last year, having to bring in all those free agents because they hadn't done the work in the player development with failed draft picks and mismanaged cap and that that conversation is a whole nother show, right? But like they have to get better at the player development level. And I think having a guy, I want my coach to be able to have it at least a voice and a seat at that table when they're talking about free agents and they're talking about draft picks and they're talking about bringing guys up from the minors and all that player development stuff, right? Because I always think about that coach role as like a chef, right? I don't want to be the chef where someone else is buying all my ingredients and then they bring it and they slap it all on the table and they say, all right, make something great. Right? Like if I'm the chef, I want to go out and I want to be able to pick the meat and I want to be able to pick the vegetables and I want to pick this because I know what I can do with it.
Yeah. So right. I mean, he's not Tortorella is not dumb. So I don't even think he would have signed here if he didn't have the knowledge that he's going to have, some say.
Right.
Like, I don't think you would have agreed to it. Like the fact that he's actually signed, it hasn't set in stone, but obviously
it's unofficially official.
Correct.
Right.
But the fact that he signed a contract to come here, knowing the dysfunction that this organization's been under for the past forever.
Right.
And B, knowing the situation that he's coming into it, to manage a team that realistically doesn't have any superstars, besides maybe the goalie. So he obviously, he
knows he's got to put
an analyst and covering, this, obviously, on TV and stuff. He knows he's plugged into hockey, like so he knows what he's walking into. So I don't think he would have done it unless he had the knowledge that he's going to have some say. So, I mean, I think that's the writing's on the wall that you're right. I think you are getting a guy that's going to at least be able to, I'm not saying like, I don't want to say like disobey the GM, but like he's not going to just sit back. If he sees things that are wrong, he's going to speak his mind. And we need that.
Right.
Because this, like, for so long, it's just been, and what's crazy to me is how much say do you think the GM actually has on this team? Because the fact of the matter is Bobby Clark and the other guy, Holmgren, they're still in the organization. Like, what's to say that they're not actually running the team and this GM is just a figurehead?
Listen, Jay, the only people that truly know are the people that are sitting in the building. Right. So if we're not sitting in the building, we're relying on the people that are relaying that information. But to me, right, like I think as far as the GM spot goes, I think the writing is on the wall. I think that I think Danny Briere is going to be the next GM, regardless of how well Chuck Fletcher does. Because to be honest, unless Chuck Fletcher overhauls this roster, turns it around, and some of these guys turn into best player on the planet overnight, I think this team is going to be they're going to be in the same position they're in right now with coaching. They're going to be in the market for a GM, and I think they're grooming Danny Briere to be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's the problem. I think that it's been a problem with the Flyers for as long as I've been a fan. They seem to feel the need to recycle former players.
Constantly
over and over and over again, and
reaching into the past.
It is, and it's repeating the past, and the past has been terrible for the Flyers since the 70s. This is a quote unquote hockey town, but we haven't won a Stanley Cup in 46 years. So
longer than any of us have been alive.
Exactly, only by a couple of years, but You look at a guy like Dave Scott. Dave Scott has a lot of money. Dave Scott is a businessman. Dave Scott is going to do whatever it takes to just put butts in the seats. Dave doesn't.
He's not in a business of losing money.
Correct. And does he? I don't know if he really cares or understands the realm of building a winning environment, building a winning franchise, building a winning team. I think that's why you've had, we had that one fluke run when we, got to the second round against the Islanders. But what is he doing to make this team, to make this organization better with, bringing in a coach? You've got a GM. Was he consulted? Those are questions that we would love to know, and they're never going to tell us. But if any of that is true, then it's gonna be a vicious cycle of failure, because it all starts at the top. And if the person at the top doesn't have a feel for, the team, the coach, the GM, then it's not gonna get better. And we're gonna be talking about this in the next year and the next year and the next year. We're gonna still have shitty contracts, and we're gonna still have subpar talent, which is ridiculous, because live hockey is incredible. Live hockey even on TV during the playoffs is incredible. Live hockey at a game in the playoffs is incredible. And to be a fan of this team for over 30 years, and the product that we have right now on the ice is completely unacceptable on every level.
With that, Donnie, I want you to pull up this video, because I do want everybody to see one thing that we do need to be excited about in getting.
All right, cue it up, Jay. Tell us what we're about to see.
Okay, well, this is Tortorella.
For the people that are going to listen later.
This is Tortorella basically going up against the entire Calgary Flames team. And this is the antithesis of Joe Girardi.
All right, here we go.
There's no volume.
Can you hear it?
I can't hear it.
No.
It's basically Tortorella. You there? I don't know what happened. Trying to pull it up again.
Oh, man.
I don't think he can hear us.
Can you hear me, Jay?
I can hear you. I don't think he.
What happened?
All right.
There you are.
This is not our first rodeo.
That's okay.
We'll work. Hey, listen, Jay. All that to be figured out in the off season.
Well, anyway, needless to say, basically, John Tortorella was trying to fight the entire team like that. What I'm getting at is he has passion. He's got balls, and he's going to have this team, whether or not they fix the roster or not. You will not see a team that plays lifeless like we did the last 2 years. That's for damn sure.
Most definitely.
So,
listen, I think that's a great place to transition to talk about the Stanley Cup, right? And Jay, when I went back to listen at that beginning, that episode 1, right? The Avalanche and the Lightning were two teams that were light years ahead. They were above and beyond picks to be in the same position that they're in right now.
didn't you and I pick them?
I believe, yeah, you and I both
Both
picked
picked
because,
Tampa.
and it was almost by attrition. We couldn't decide on anyone else to pick above them. There were some.
I did have the Rangers as a dark horse, but I didn't.
You had the Rangers, you had the Capitals, you had a couple of those sleeper teams, but when push came to shove, the Lightning and Avalanche were teams that you just couldn't until they were unseeded. You couldn't pick against them. And I think what you're seeing now, I mean, even to just watch both conference finals, the Lightning beat, the Rangers, and then the Avalanche beat. I mean, that series, for them to be able to sweep that series, the guy that the goalie plays last night was a guy that got injured earlier in the playoffs, hadn't played for I want to say close to 2 weeks, and comes out and has a great game. But just talk to me about those two teams, because they're just fun to watch.
I mean, where I'm at. Obviously, a lot of people wanted to see Colorado win. I'm rooting for greatness. We've seen it with Tom Brady, and I know a lot of people don't like Tom Brady, but I like dynasties, and what Tampa Bay is doing right now is it's unprecedented. We haven't saw this. Obviously, there hasn't been a team to three-peat in professional sports since the Chicago Bulls back in the 90s. Right. So it's been a very long time. Even the Patriots, the football's greatest dynasty, never won 3 in a row. So obviously it's going to be a tough one because Colorado's a tough opponent. But I still think Tampa will win the series at the end of the day. I'm amazed at what Nikita Kucherov can do in the playoffs. He's a great regular season player, but in the playoffs, he's on another level.
I mean, just the way he moves, literally can get anywhere he wants.
He's just, I mean, and it just shows you Russian players and that's one thing. I don't want to go back to the Flyers, but for all those years that the Flyers didn't want to draft Russian players, and it's mind-boggling to me that it's just the speed of the game. Like you said, it's like watching NHL versus AHL comparing the two teams.
It's literally a completely different level of play.
It just is, but Tampa Bay does something better than probably any team in the NHL. Not only do they draft well, but they, more importantly, develop their players that they draft.
True.
So, Kucherov, I believe he was a second-round pick. He wasn't even a top 3 player, but he plays like he is. He plays like an elite player. I mean,
he was a second-round pick.
You can go down the line. Vasilevsky was, I believe, the 19th pick in the draft. But, obviously he's turned out to be one of the best goalies of this modern era. It's just, you could go up and down the roster. I mean, obviously, the old man in the room, you got, he's playing like he's, 22 again. I just think Tampa Bay, like I said, it's their system and it's their development. And that's the difference between why they're so good and why other teams aren't. It's just because they develop the players that they draft. It's not just because they drafted a lot of guys high up in the draft. Because let's face it, they were bad for all those years, like way back
Mhm.
when they were bad for a long time. But most of their draft picks, like I said, Vasilevsky was the 19th pick. That's not a high draft pick.
No.
They just hit on their picks because they have good scouts. They have a mind for today's NHL game, and they draft for today's NHL game. They're not drafting for 30 years ago and what it was back in the day.
No, not at all. Joe, talk to me about the Avalanche.
Oh man, it all goes. It goes back to the 2022 NHL game. The game the game over the last 5 years. It's not. They're trying to take away, and they've been doing it for years, taking away the physicality of the game. It's about puck possession, winning one-on-one battles, world-class skating, world-class stick handling, which none of those things fall under the Flyers bracket. I'm looking at the Avalanche roster right now, and I could probably rattle off any of their offensive players, and
I mean, not for nothing,
any
Joe.
of them. I don't think any of them come close to anyone on the Flyers. Come close to any of these guys.
Joe, I'm gonna throw a guy at you last night that didn't get on the scoreboard at all, but definitely contributed. That's a name you're gonna remember.
Yes, I know who it is.
Go ahead.
Well, which team? You Colorado or Tampa?
Colorado.
Obey-Cubel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's a guy who had his issues here, but if you put him on a team where he can be productive and be surrounded by talent, you saw his play elevate. The way that I saw him play last night in game 1, I never saw him play like that here. Never. So like I look at the talent that's there, and there was not a single play that the Flyers made last night that even came close to the worst play that I saw last night.
Yeah, it's very disheartening. Go ahead, Don.
It is. No, but it was just fun. Like, you know what? I don't want to talk about the shitty Flyers anymore. Like, I know that's always kind of the go back to, but like the puck possession, the way that they were able to move, some of the and I don't remember the specific goal, but there was one goal where Tampa skates through the zone and they pass the puck ahead, and the vision to be able to see a guy coming back on your right and be able to kick the puck back to him to what ends up being an open net goal, right? Like just to see that puck possession, that movement, that it was like a symphony. Like everything just worked seamlessly, and it was seeing the playoffs this season. And Joe, to like the energy in the building that I saw last night, that I saw in Madison Square Garden, that I saw in Edmonton and Calgary, like I have not seen that with this team. I couldn't even tell you.
I think it was that. Oh God! Well, we lost the Stanley Cup in 2010, right. And then we had that incredible series against the Penguins, where they came in here and we beat them, I think, in game 6. They won a couple games and we blew the doors off of them. But it's just, this team cannot sustain heading in the right direction. They just, they had that, like I said, they had that 2020 against the Islanders, and we all thought that, that was going to be the Flyers going forward.
Right.
But that we saw that wasn't the case. And you don't know what happened? What happened to Provorov? What happened to TK? TK has a 24 goal season, and then he'll go 24 games without a goal. Like
it's soul crushing.
It's soul crushing because some of these guys do have the potential, but I have zero faith in anyone in this organization. Well, maybe Tortorella will change that around, but who's going to make any of them better? Nobody's been able to bring out the best in guys that have potential or have shown signs in it. Look, Morgan Frost. Morgan Frost was completely invisible this year. I thought Morgan Frost was going to be, a 25 to 30 goal scorer. He was completely invisible for most of the season.
That was the projection, right? That's what you thought it could be.
Yeah, he didn't show me anything. I thought he was going to be able to skate. I thought he was going to be able to shoot. I thought he had impeccable ice vision. But nobody on this team does.
No, not at all.
Nobody on this team does. It's just junk goals, and they might have a couple flashes here and there, but they're the model of inconsistency. And the Tortorella signing is great, but like Jay said, you said, Don, if he can't get through to the players, if they don't buy in, then we're spinning our wheels, and we're going to be having the same conversation, for many years to come.
Jay, talk to me about Colorado.
I mean, they're amazing. I think, obviously Nathan McKinnon, world class. You got Gabriel Landeskog. Makar.
Cal Makar's fucking incredible to watch, man.
He was a guy we could have drafted. I hate to say it.
Thanks, Hexy.
Oh, man.
Thanks, Hexy.
I don't know. I just think, like I said, it's funny because this Avalanche team reminds me of the Avalanche teams that won the Cups. The only thing, that team had over this one is obviously Patrick Waugh. But,
right.
They had a young, upstart team with a couple key veterans. And that's the same thing that this but
Jay, think about that, like just real quick, that goalie play, right? Like you had in that series against Edmonton, right? Kemper gets hurt in game one. Francois, the backup, comes in and leads them to four straight wins, allows Kemper to get healthy, and he comes back and has 20 saves last night. Like you're getting production all over the place, and there's no break. Like there's no breath. You can't take a breath, and you saw that in overtime, right? Tampa took one shift off. They lost that one guy for that one shift, and it cost them the game.
Yeah, Avalanche. I think if you look at the Avalanche compared to Tampa, I think the one thing that Avalanche does better is they have. I don't want to say that Tampa doesn't have the killer instinct. They won 2 cups. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
Colorado just has.
I don't think you can say Tampa doesn't have killer instinct.
No,
they're in their 3rd straight Stanley Cup.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just thinking this through. Like I'm trying to think of the difference. Like I think Colorado just has. I don't want to say more edge per se. They're a little bit quicker to the puck.
Like hungry? You think they're hungry? You think
it could be that? It could be a lot of things. But I still think Tampa is going to win the series. I think. The Rangers out 2-0. And everyone was like, "Oh, look, see, Tampa's done," and then Tampa just kind of swept it. Like,
here's what I'll say. I hope that it goes 7.
I'd like to see it 7
because
Yeah.
I would have loved if the Avalanche Edmonton series had gone 7, just to be able to see those two teams and that level of talent just go back and forth.
Selfishly, yeah, you want to see the talent.
All right, gentlemen, who do you got? Colorado's up at this point, right? Colorado's up one game to none, right? You've got your next game is on Saturday. Who's winning and how? What in what game?
I mean, I got Tampa at 7. That's who I want to win. Because as
Joe,
I said, I'm rooting for.
I'll take the Avalanche in 7 just because they'll be at home. They've only lost one game at home in the playoffs, so they. I think it's just their time. I can't root. I mean, it's pretty incredible that this is the 3rd in a row, but I can't root for a team that just has zero to no fan base. The people would much more likely go hang out at the beach than go to the hockey game. And there's more people at a Meek Mill concert than at the Tampa Bay Stanley Cup winning parade. So it's I can't root for a team that doesn't. They just don't do it for me. They don't. I mean, Colorado, they've waited long enough. They've got a good enough team. I think it's just their time. I can't root for Tampa. Tampa Bay Rays, Tampa Bay, anything.
It's hard to root for those hockey teams in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
Like something just doesn't feel right. I just to mix it up, I'm gonna go Colorado in 6. I'm just gonna think that at some point they go down to Tampa, they take care of, they flip that home ice advantage, and then maybe they come home and win it. Maybe they win it in Game 6 in Tampa. The other thing that bothers me about Tampa though is that they've self anointed themselves Champa Bay, and something about that just just burns me. So I'm gonna go Colorado in 6. Gentlemen, final thoughts? Any final thoughts for tonight? Anything hockey, not hockey? Anything going on? Anything you want to talk about?
Dave Scott, please start listening to the fans. Please start putting a better product in that building and on that ice. Love all the Philadelphia Flyers, man.
Jay, what do you got?
He's ignoring you, Joe. Dave Scott didn't hear you loud and clear.
Oh, wait, I have a hockey team?
Stop.
My final thoughts. I want to recognize you, Don, for all you do in this.
Thank you, brother.
Honestly, you're always recognizing everybody else, but honestly, you've become one of my good friends.
I appreciate it.
You're just such a phenomenal person, and I'm glad that you're my friend, and I think you do tremendous work on every podcast you're on, and I appreciate you. So that's my final thought.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. The feelings are mutual. I had a good conversation with Jesse back and forth in Flyers Alley, and at the end of the conversation, we're both going back and forth saying, listen, we're all trying to get to the same place, right? We're all eating from the same pie. So if one of us is going to succeed, right, all of us are going to succeed. So it's just that mentality of just trying to just put that good stuff out into the world, and then knowing that the more positive stuff you put out in the world, the stuff that's going to come back to you. So it's all love. I'm here. That's just me. I'm not I'm not a get off my lawn type of guy. So I'll leave the get off my lawn stuff to Rich.
Thank you, Don.
Rich is a screamer, but Jay, sincerely, thank you.
Well said, Jay.
I guess
seriously.
real quick too. I guess
Go
I'll plug my podcast.
See?
There we go.
Yep, go.
Go ahead.
If you haven't checked it out, please do so. I really would greatly appreciate it. But I dropped the debut episode last week of Hate to Feel. I've got a lot of good feedback on it, and I'm looking forward to the next episode. I was going to do it this week, but I've been really crazy busy back to work from my vacation. But I will be dropping episode 2 next week. And if you are out there and you would like to be a guest, my DM is open. Anybody, I'm not, I don't discriminate. Anybody that has any experience or, even somebody that might have a family member that struggles and wants to come on, I'm all about it. So appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to hear it. Listen, it's an eye-opening experience to be able to hear that stuff, and it also gives you some perspective. So listen, I would highly encourage anybody to go out there and check it. Just go out there and check it out. It's an hour well spent. So
appreciate it.
I don't know. My final thoughts kind of feel a little like they're lackluster. It wasn't that deep. I just want to say, I'm glad that the news came out today about, Philadelphia being one of the cities that's going to host one of the World Cup games in 2026 at the Link. I'm not sure where that's going to fall in terms of what game it's going to be. There's some rumblings that with, that being I don't even know what title it would be, but it's the 250th anniversary of this country, and that they could be playing on 4th of July, the semifinal in Philadelphia. I think it would only be fitting if the U.S. was playing England in that game in Philadelphia. But just another way for this city to kind of show everything that's good about the city. But put this city on that world stage is just going to be a great opportunity for everybody. So excited for that. Excited for us to be on the world stage. Who knows? Maybe at that point in 2026 we'll have a drunk abroad soccer pod. Who knows? We'll get some people on here talking soccer. Who knows?
And maybe we will have won a Stanley Cup by then.
Maybe. Oh my God. Hey Jay, listen, we need you to put your reverse curse back into the universe, right? Maybe that'll turn it around.
I'm doing it with everything. That's why I said yesterday, anybody that wants to, anybody's team that needs a reverse jinx, just DM me your team and I'll put it out there. I'll put the juju out.
Hey guys,
go ahead.
Do we see anybody on the Flyers roster getting moved? And who would be the most likely?
I hope JVR.
Yeah, I think JVR is probably the guy that's the combination of the contract and the contribution. I think that's a guy that is
most likely.
In all likelihood, I think that's
TK.
Konechny. Bye.
TK could be a guy. Who knows?
He can go talk his smack somewhere else. Listen, gentlemen, before we head out, if you go check out our link tree over on the Twitter bio, you can find our sponsors. You can find our Drunk on Brawl gear. You can go check out Shocked Energy, Team Clicks, Streaker Sports. We've got some really each one of our sponsors has some really cool, unique materials, and there's information on there about how you do it so that you can support us. So if you're out there, go check it out. Otherwise, gentlemen, it's been real. It's been fun. Thanks, Don. Thanks, Jay.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
And on that note, later, Philly.